Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We are here for UFC Vegas 38, where we have Thiago Santos taking on Johnny Walker in what should be a firework-filled main event of the evening. Scheduled for 5 rounds, though I do not believe it's going to go more than 3 rounds. First fight of the evening. These bouts begin at 4 o'clock p.m. Also, want to let everybody know it's important to have your plays third-party tracked, especially if you are a MMA handicapper in this industry. Make sure you're following and tailing long-term tracked winners. The records are easily available on betmma.tips, etc. First fight of the night, we've got Alejandro Perez taking on Johnny Eduardo. This bout takes place at 135 pounds. Johnny Eduardo began his professional mixed martial arts career back in 1996. Now, in his early 40s, Perez, last time out, we saw him brutalized by Song Yadong. In this spot, Eduardo, I believe, only has so much gas in the tank. The Muay Thai is going to be on full display for the first few minutes inside of the smaller octagon. The issue is going to be pushed, and I see Eduardo gassing out, Perez getting in top control. As the fight progresses, Perez running away with this fight. So give me Alejandro Perez for the win. Perez, the minus 235 favorite. Be aware, he is coming off of being finished. Eduardo, I don't think there's enough value at plus 190. Give me Alejandro Perez. Next bout of the night, where we have Shauna Young taking on Stephanie Egger. Stephanie Egger, judo practitioner who suffered a number of injuries throughout her career. Is going to come in here as the much larger fighter, taking on Shauna Young, who she's left a lot to be desired out there in her career thus far. 7-3 overall record, plus 115 underdog on Young, who's coming in after the birth of a child here. Stephanie Egger is a fighter who you watch the Tracy Cortez fight, and there are moments in that fight where she appeared that she could engage and use her judo, though Tracy nullified that. This is going to be a spot where Egger should be able to exploit Young's deficiencies. Give me Egger to win this fight. And as a 8,200 price tag in DraftKings, I think we're getting a bit of value there. She's now minus 145 favorite. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 196. The pick is going to be Stephanie Egger. Next up, where we have another war-torn veteran here, Douglas Silva de Andrade, who is 36 years of age, coming in as a minus 265 betting favorite, taking on Andrade-Pirrello, who, let's be real here, how did this young man get to this point? Took on Ricky Simone, did not fare well in that spot, was cut through like a warm knife through butter. Plus 215 underdog, $7,000 in DraftKings. Belgian fighter who Douglas Silva de Andrade has multiple paths to victory in this spot. Looks completely shredded on the scales. I have always wondered how this guy makes the weight. And he does. This fight's not expected to go to a decision. I think Douglas Silva de Andrade could take this fight a few different places. He is a well-rounded mixed martial artist, though he's been in there with some tough competition. And the Peter Yan fight. I actually had my father with me watching that bout, and he was blown away by the ferocity of Peter Yan. Give me Douglas Silva de Andrade for the win. Next up, where we have a fighter who is a very tough guy to put away unless you're taking on Alex Volkanovski. You've got Jamie Mullarkey taking on Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith has fallen apart when the going gets tough. Devontae Smith, 11-2 overall record, 8,700 in DraftKings, coming in as a minus 150 betting favorite at this spot. In this spot, taking on Jamie Mullarkey, who coming in 7,500 plus 120 betting underdog. Mullarkey shredded on the scales. Man, the Brad Riddell fight, you watch that, and this kid can take some serious punishment. Now, if Devontae Smith lands one of his nuclear bombs on Mullarkey, that could cause some serious issues and take Mullarkey out of there. But when you look at implied probability, how often do you see that happening? And I don't see that happening very often in this spot. I think Mullarkey's going to come out here, surprise some folks, and take Devontae Smith into deep waters and drown him. So give me Jamie Mullarkey here as a plus 120 underdog. And if he doesn't get nuked, he could be an excellent DraftKings play. So give me Jamie Mullarkey in this spot. Next up, where we have Carol Rosa taking on Betch Correia. In Betch Correia's retirement fight, you could see how much this means to Correia, who came in here at 138.5 pounds. In this spot, Rosa right now minus 610 betting favorite. At one point, Rosa could be had in the minus 300s. That ship has sailed. 26 years old, high volume striker who does have some wrestling in her back pocket. DraftKings Gold. Rosa taking on Correia, who isn't going to have much space to evade in the octagon. She's going to have to use her grappling here and try to get this fight to the mat. We have seen on Instagram Correia getting promoted in the jiu-jitsu realm, though. This is her last hurrah here. I think we're going to see her revert back to her old ways, where she turns into a striker. 6,900 plus 410 underdog for Correia. 11-5-1 overall record. Actually, when you look at when Correia came into the UFC, she was on a run, and she's been stopped in her tracks. That fight against Sijara Eubanks really, that was a tough pill to swallow. We were on Eubanks heavy there. In this spot, though, Rosa, she is going to put the nail in the coffin on Correia's career, barring some massive unforeseen event here. I'm going to be picking Carol Rosa to get the job done here, and I would not be surprised if she's able to finish Correia. Correia's been a tough out. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 280, but I think we have a spot here where Rosa, if she's able to start landing volume and Correia does not move her head off the center line, her head ends up popping back like a Pez dispenser, there may be nowhere to go but out. So give me Carol Rosa for the win. Good morning, Daniel. Go get what's yours, my brother. It's a great morning for fights. We are a traveling show today. Being away out of town is not going to stop us from breaking down these fights. Antonina Shevchenko versus Casey O'Neill up next. This is an interesting bout where you hear folks talk about binary fights, fights with two possible outcomes. This is one of those where we have Casey O'Neill, who is a tenacious grappler, and she needs to put Shevchenko on her back, because if that does not happen, then Antonina Shevchenko should light Casey O'Neill up on the feet. this is not a cut and dry one definitive outcome here. You have Casey O'Neill, who, if she doesn't get her lights put out, could put up a massive DraftKings score, holding Shevchenko down, possibly transitioning all over Shevchenko. Now, if O'Neill can't, for whatever reason, if she has difficulty closing the distance and taking Shevchenko to the mat, for as long as this fight stays standing, Shevchenko is going to be as live as it gets. So you got Shevchenko coming in here as a plus 180 underdog and a DraftKings price of 7,200. Interesting fight. This line has widened a bit. You have O'Neill at minus 220, DraftKings price of $9,000. I'm going to be picking O'Neill to win, though I see the path to victory for Shevchenko. The offensive the offensive strategy from O'Neill on the feet. She's all offense, and she does not pay any attention to her striking defense, and that could potentially come back to cost her here. So I'll be picking Casey O'Neill in that spot. Next up, where we have Joe Solecki taking on Andrade-Gordon. Fantastic lightweight matchup, and folks need to pay attention that this fight is up at 155 pounds. Solecki, who has been on a bit of a run here, you could say that, considering he's got a 11-2 record, riding a win streak, coming in at 8,300 in DraftKings, minus 130 betting favorite. This line has closed a bit. Andrade-Gordon 7,900 plus 100 at the betting window. The most important thing when capping this fight is whoever ends up in top control is likely going to be the winner here. And both of these fighters do not spend a lot of time on their back. And when we've seen what happens when Joe Solecki ends up on his back, and he can be held down. I have concerns when I watch Solecki. If he's put in precarious situations, he doesn't show an urgency to get back to his feet. In the Jim Miller fight, he was content riding out the round and then went back to the drawing board. Granted, his corner gave him some excellent advice, and he ended up slow cooking Jim Miller in that spot. It's going to take a heck of a lot to slow cook Andrade-Gordon, who, one thing I love about Andrade-Gordon's fighting style is he comes forward and goes for it. And even when he's on fumes at the end of the fight, he'll be a fighter who will go until he has nothing left. Gordon's striking, there are some issues there when he's throwing for output defensively. He's been caught a number of times. Solecki is robotic in nature on the feet, but he has, when I watch Joe Solecki fight, he is a fighter who doesn't take any big risks. He's a cerebral fighter, and I think he's going to come in here and wait for Andrade-Gordon to make his move, and then he's going to counter that, and he's going to put himself in some solid positions on the ground. Now, how long is he going to end up being able to maintain those positions? Because Gordon is very scrambly in nature, and we've seen now he's at a new gym. He could try to rely on the stand-up, but this fight takes place in the smaller octagon, and I think this fight will end up hitting the mat. I'll be picking Joe Solecki here. I think that, well, I know he's the younger fighter. He's the fighter with solid jiu-jitsu and control maintenance of position on the top. I think that is going to be a difference maker here. Granted, Andrade-Gordon, I've spoken to Tom Breeze and some other folks who've rolled with him, and they vouch that he's a tremendous grappler who has shocked a lot of folks on the mat. But I think that Joe Solecki think he's flying under the radar here, and this could be a coming out party. I'll be picking him, but Andrade-Gordon is live, especially the longer this fight goes. Next up, Alexander Hernandez versus Mike-Breeden. Mike-Breeden, we know from the Contender Series, has a lot of knockout victories. Alexander Hernandez, tough fighter to get a hold of in there. He has great footwork since he's changed camps. But if Hernandez meets adversity, he has a tendency to fold the longer the fight goes. And I don't see that happening here against Breeden, who he's outmatched in a number of avenues here. Long story short, Alexander Hernandez should come out here and piece up Mike-Breeden, who came in overweight for this fight, and that is a concern here. He did not look like he was in shape, ready to go. And Hernandez, we know he comes to party, win or lose. So Alexander Hernandez, massive, massive favorite here. Man, look at this. We're talking a minus 615 betting favorite. I would take a peek at that inside the distance line for Alexander Hernandez. Breeden 10-3 record. Tough fighter to finish, but this is going to be a spot where I think Breeden's going to go for broke. So give me Alexander Hernandez. And the 9,400 DraftKings price, that is a little too steep for my liking. Let's take Alexander Hernandez in that matchup. Next up, where we have Misha Cirkunov taking on Krzysztof-Jotko. Krzysztof-Jotko, man, he came in, had a lot of promise here in the UFC and really has fallen short. We've seen that he's brittle at times, and he has a great gas tank. He is evasive, a point fighter, likes to use his footwork, has solid jiu-jitsu. Coming in against a fighter who Misha Cirkunov is dropping down from 205 pounds. I waited until the weigh-ins to really make a pick here. Cirkunov was able to make middleweight. That was shocking to me. He is committed, but we've seen other fighters like Christian Connolly and others surprise folks by making the lighter weight class, and then they don't come out and perform. 7,600 in DraftKings for Cirkunov. Cirkunov is one of the value plays on the card here, plus 105 underdog for Misha Cirkunov, who has had his lights shut off a number of times in the past. Cirkunov, it's got to be mentioned, he is a plodding grappler on the feet, plods forward, robotic. I mean, much, much more robotic than Joe Solecki. And he is extremely slow, does not move his head at all. He's going to have to take this fight to the mat to get Jotko out of there. I see Jotko running circles around Cirkunov here in this spot. 8,600. Can Jotko finish Cirkunov? That is the question. We know that Cirkunov can finish Jotko if he's able to take Jotko to the mat. That is a path to victory. He could lock up a submission there. His top game is incredible. The way he was able to submit Jimmy Crute, that was also very impressive. Minus 135 at the betting window for Jotko. I've got to be honest here. I got to roll with Krzysztof-Jotko in this spot. I think Cirkunov, I want to see him down at 185 pounds first before I want to see him perform at this weight class before I make any serious judgments on him. We know he was chinny up at light heavyweight, and he runs out of gas quickly. So what's going to happen to him now that he's lost 20 pounds? He's going to be slower against an evasive fighter. That's dangerous. All right, Daniel Edwards, you got the under. That may be a good spot to be in. I do see this fight not going the distance. So that is a spot to take a peek at. I'll be picking Jotko. I know that Cirkunov is committed to this weight class now, and he did make the weight, but I mean, he's in his mid-30s coming down to middleweight. Tough spot. Now, this is the fight of the night right here. Niko Price against Alex Oliveira. Love this fight. Love this matchup. And you've got Alex Oliveira, who's coming in with a 22-10-1 overall record. The wheels have slowly fallen off of Oliveira recently. 7,800 plus 155 underdog. And on the other side of the fight, you've got Niko Price with a 14-5 record. 8,400 in DraftKings, minus 185 betting favorite. This fight's not expected to go to a decision at minus 220. Niko Price, although both of these fighters are on a skid, Niko Price has looked much, much better than Alex Oliveira. He's come on late in many of his fights. The Michel Pereira fight almost won that one. I was on Pereira in that spot, and I watched the way he turned that around. He's done that a number of times recently. Even he put Vicente Luque in some really tough spots. Both of these fighters have fought legit competition, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a crossroads fight. And Alex Oliveira, I can't trust him. And although he's won me a lot of money throughout the years, man, I love that shovel hook, that shovel hook uppercut, that shovel uppercut of Alex Oliveira may be in play here. But I think that Price, the longer this fight goes, is going to break down Oliveira. And Oliveira may come out hot early. He may come out on fire, crisp. But I'm expecting the wheels to fall off once again. I'll be picking Niko Price. I think Price gets this done inside the distance and does so in dramatic fashion. I wish this fight was taking place in front of a massive group of fans, because that I think there may be some blood on the octagon after this fight. Give me Niko Price to get this done inside the distance. Next up, we have Kevin Holland, who was at AKA for 1 week. And, I mean, they say AKA changes lives, but I don't think 1 week is a long enough time span to really do much. Johnny Hendricks now in the corner of Kevin Holland, taking on Holland-Daukaus, who is tough as nails. He can be hit. And we've seen both of these fighters have issues when fights go to the mat. They tend to accept positions. Kevin Holland, much, much cleaner, better striker. Actually, I consider his best asset to be his striking defense. And it's beautiful to watch. He's got a big reach, 8,500, minus 175 betting favorite. Daukaus, 7,700, plus 145 underdog. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 140. I like Kevin Holland here, but we've seen him on his back so many times, and we've seen Kevin Holland make a mockery of everything that takes place inside the octagon. He's talking to his opponents. He's not making a conscious effort to get back to his feet. He doesn't have the ability to get to his feet many times, so he just accepts being on bottom. That is not something you want to see when you bank on someone who is fighting for your money. Daukaus will not go away. He needs to get put out. And I don't see him being submitted in this spot. There is the potential for Daukaus to get knocked out. I think Holland is the better overall fighter. Both of these guys are actually 28 years of age. I'll be picking Kevin Holland, but there is not much conviction in that spot. I do like Daukaus's tenacity and his willingness to stay in the fight. Give me Kevin Holland to win. Now, main event of the evening, where we have Thiago Santos taking on Johnny Walker. We have let's get this going. We have Thiago Santos, 21-9 overall record, 37 years of age, riding a losing streak here after his knees have been reconstructed. 8,800 in DraftKings, minus 150 at the betting window with Johnny Walker coming in with a significant reach advantage. 29 years old, 7,400 plus 120 underdog. Yes, Thiago Santos is the more well put together fighter with the better skill set. Yes, both of these fighters are extremely explosive. Both of these fighters are chinny. I think that somebody's going to get caught here, and I don't think that's going out on a limb, but I think somebody's going to get caught, and somebody's going to get caught early. I see this fight ending before the third round begins, and I don't think there's going to be enough room to stay evasive for either fighter and avoid getting caught by a bomb. I'll be picking Johnny Walker in this spot. I think that he's electric when he's in there. Santos is getting up there in age, and I think that he's going to get caught coming in, and Walker's just going to nail him with one of these explosive power, either a knee or a kick to the head, probably a knee. I'll be picking Johnny Walker wins by a devastating knockout. This fight is not expected to go to a decision. The line's sitting at minus 550. I'll be picking Johnny Walker in that spot. We've got a great night of fights ahead of us. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember to go out and get what's yours, and take a look at the third-party track records out there, folks. You want to be tailing long-term winners. There are a lot of folks out here who aren't necessarily up to snuff. So do your homework. Stay composed. Don't throw units around like water, and pick your spots. Let's go get this, my friends. One fight at a time. Cheers.